most of my research papers were on childhood obesity. And so I felt like kind of stumped at why I wasn't successful at helping George.
Mm-hmm.
But we tried a few other things. He has a personal trainer, and then one day I Googled, and I had never seen your thing pop up before, and it was the second thing that popped up. And from the minute I saw it, I was like, oh, this looks like something I'm looking for. It wasn't, I don't want to say desperation, but it was at that point. So maybe if I wouldn't have been as desperate, I would have maybe thought about it. But I was like, it's worth the cost, it's worth the cost, because this is like our lives. This is not like something that you want to like take lightly or be cheap about.
Okay, so you both just finished the 16-week program, and I invited you to share your experience with other parents who are considering it to help their kids lose weight. And to be transparent, I didn't give you any context or any questions before this because I want to keep it as authentic as possible. So to start, if you feel comfortable, maybe Jess, you could start. Can you share a bit about what your day-to-day was like before joining the program in terms of health?
Relatively healthy. We all exercise daily. We try to eat mostly whole foods, but we ate out a lot. Like Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, In-N-Out, all the fast foods that you can eat when you have a busy family.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, so just so people know, you have 4 kids.
Yeah.
So this is a big busy family.
Yeah, George is the oldest of 4. The youngest is 8.
Yeah, and George, what was your health like before starting the program? How would you describe it really quickly?
I'd say for my health, the movement and exercise was there, but eating habits were not. So that was one of the main things I was like trying to fix coming into it.
Can you expand a bit into that? What made it not great?
I like most of my healthy meals were like at home when we did have healthy food, but I also like, especially since I can drive now, I would like drive myself with my friends, like go get fast food for like lunch at school.
Talk about your Albertson runs.
Or Albertson runs. My friends would go down and buy a bunch of crap. And like, we used to do a lot of cooking challenges too, and we cooked like some W stuff. But it was never like that healthy. It was like top ramen. So
nice.
Yeah.
So and this is really just a holistic view before we get really into the depth of the program. But how would you describe your experience after completing this program? Maybe in one sentence, what would it be?
So it was great. I learned a lot, and still learning more, but I'm definitely better than I was 16 weeks ago.
Better in what way?
Just in like the choices I'm making, and like I've actually started to just like choose healthier things instead of like forcing myself to. I'll just like start to gravitate toward those things more, and so it's like a better thing for me.
Okay, so before we dive deeper, I want to give the viewer also some context. The goal of this video is to show parents a real experience of how the program was. So I want you both to really share the good and the bad. Like, don't keep anything hidden, and we'll let parents decide for themselves if this is the right fit for them. And if you say anything sensitive, just let me know. I can remove it. Otherwise, I'll keep literally everything in, including George, you scribbling on your paper. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, so yes, this is a question for you. Why was it important for you to help George lose weight?
Because health is important to me, and using my body to celebrate being alive is a big part of my life. And I could see that if he kept going on the path that he was on, that it wouldn't be very long before he wasn't able to do most of the things that he likes doing now. And then, I mean, who knows what that would mean for later.
So
I see. And I know the whole backstory, but the viewer doesn't know it. Can you tell me a bit about? I know you've been trying for years to help George. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah. So I actually have a bachelor's degree in health, and it was health promotion and education. And I did research on, most of my research papers were on childhood obesity. And so I felt like kind of stumped at why I wasn't successful at helping George.
Mm-hmm.
But we tried a few other things. He has a personal trainer, and again, like he said before, movement, he likes to move and he likes to play. But I think the emotional piece tied to food and that part was harder for me to be able to help him. And so I feel like this did that.
And maybe George, just to relieve some pressure off of your mom, can you tell a bit about your own perspective through all of this? How was it like growing up, like struggling and seeing your mom trying to help you all the time?
I often usually rejected the help that she tried to give me. I would be like, no, that's so stupid. I don't need to do that. But I think that, I guess, just hearing the things that my mom has said from other people as well has probably helped me to kind of not necessarily change my mind, but be open to it. Because I don't know, there's just sometimes my mom says things I'm like, yeah, you're the only one I've ever heard say that, so I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But
you think I'm grandma?
A little bit sometimes. But yeah, I'd say that when she tried to help me, I often rejected it. And I guess one of the reasons I didn't really reject this was because a lot of things in lessons and things were things that she has already told me. So
I see. So it's a lot like you just needed to hear it from someone else.
Yeah.
I see. Was there anything about the approach or anything in the program that specifically you think helped you differently than your mom was trying before?
I definitely see the fact that I guess it feels easier to disappoint my mom. Or no, that sounds terrible. I guess it's easier for me to
It's okay. That's
it's easier for
true.
me to be okay, well, whatever. I'm just gonna go to Chick-fil-A or whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And she's not gonna get that bad. But I guess the fact that I was sending you the things I was eating, I was even for the first week, I had already gotten a lot better because I was I'm not taking a picture of this, so I'm not gonna eat it.
Yeah. I see. This is an interesting question. I don't know if you can even remember, but Jess, do you remember how you found out about this program?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
I Googled. I don't remember the exact thing that I Googled, but I had Googled for years and years and nothing, and I would, click on things and nothing ever seemed like it was the right fit. And then, sorry. Then one day I Googled and I had never seen your thing pop up before. And it was the second thing that popped up. And I don't even remember what your catchphrase said or what, but from the minute I saw it, I was like, oh, this looks like something I'm looking for. It might have just been because it said children or something. I don't remember. But so I clicked on it and I kind of read through it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I think would be helpful. And I think your bio, somewhere early on, it talks about you and how you know, who you were and what your experience was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just felt like this is what we need. So I reached out and I was like, I think we should try this. And it wasn't, I don't want to say desperation, but it was at that point. So I mean, I'm grateful that for me, for us, like financially, it kind of, that wasn't really an issue for us. But I think maybe if I wouldn't have been as desperate, I would have maybe thought about it. But I was like, it's worth the cost, you know, it's worth the cost because this is like our lives. This is not like something that you want to like take lightly or be cheap about.
Yeah. So that's I don't know if you remember, but do you remember when you talked, like when I met you and Colby during the consultation? What was your impression after speaking with me?
The same. I was just more I just felt like, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay, so that's good because a lot of times parents come to me and you know they still have hesitations and doubts about this whole thing, but it doesn't sound like you did necessarily in that moment.
I think though, is George one of your oldest kids?
I actually yeah, there's kids who are 17 as well. I think as old as that.
Okay. Yeah. So I would, you know, maybe if their kids are younger, they feel like, oh, this is too extreme. Like I'm making a bigger deal about this than I need to. But if I could give advice to them, I would say, no, make a big deal about it as young as you can. So
yeah. Okay, so now that you've completed the program, the whole 16 weeks, maybe George, you can start with this one. What is the most impactful changes that you noticed in yourself?
Definitely. I've had I'd say like my focus has gone up a lot, which is kind of weird, but that's like I've been a lot better at focusing and things, and I have just been feeling like, I guess, just like better, like not as sluggish and not as like, I don't know, just like all around just like healthier. And that's been like, I guess, cool for me to see.
Yeah. And what about, I'm sure everyone's wondering physically, like, did you lose weight? Did anything happen during the program?
Yeah, so in the first like 2 weeks, I dropped like, I think like 10 pounds. But then kind of here and there, I've been like just like kind of fluctuating. But I feel like my body composition has also been changing as well. So it's not necessarily just like that it only works for the first 2 weeks and then I just stopped caring.
Yeah.
So I'd say for the first 2 weeks of like changing what I was doing, I saw like drastic changes. But then a lot of the other like changes I saw were like more mellow over like time.
And what did other people notice in you? Do you remember?
Not that much because they were with me like every day.
Yeah.
But I went back and looked at the video of our first session and I was like, dang. And I think my friend was like at my house. And he's like, well, let me see it. And I showed it to him and he's like,
what about what Grandma and Abby
what the
said?
heck? And then yeah, there's some like family members I haven't seen since like Christmas. And then spring break, which was like a couple weeks ago, we went and saw them again. And I guess I didn't know this. They didn't tell me this. I must have told my mom this. That I was like, I don't know, what did they say? Like that I was like acting better.
They just said George seems so happy. He seems like he's doing so well.
Yeah, and I wondered, how did you feel like hearing stuff like that?
I didn't hear it till like after we got home, but pretty good. I guess that it's just like a reassurance, I guess, that like I like am doing better, which is like ultimately what I wanted. So
Awesome. And Jess, what about you? What did you notice in yourself and then maybe also in George?
I mean, I noticed my weaknesses, that's for sure. And like my habits were, obviously I was more conscious of my own habits. Which I, have been working on too.
some better lighting.
And I would say in George, the biggest thing I've noticed, again, like he said, like I see him every day. So his confidence definitely and his like willingness to just be himself has gone up, I would say, quite a bit. And I would also say like we're not perfect at it, right? Like we still have a lot of work to do, but just his consciousness of what he's eating I don't know if he's ever been conscious of it ever, other than like what he was craving and really wanted. Like I don't know if he's gonna be okay with this, so he might have to tell you you're gonna have to cut it out, but
What?
Like a few years ago, he was like riding his bike. They used to ride their bikes to school, to middle school, and they would pass a donut shop on the way. And I don't remember if you were stopping at that little coffee shop to get a donut,
Yeah,
or
it was a college. Are you talking about like stole money from you?
yeah, but no, I'm just talking about. I was going to talk about that while you just did, but anyway. And you were, and
Yeah.
where did you stop?
Just a random coffee shop right there on the way to school.
He was stopping at a coffee shop on the way to school to like get a donut or a cinnamon roll or something like that. And he wasn't, like, I found out about it. But so, I mean, he was conscious in those moments, right? He was making, that was like a concerted effort. And to me, that was like, wow, he's gonna make a huge effort to, get a donut.
Okay, hang on, real quick. Not that huge of an effort. It was like maybe once a month, and it was like.
But you didn't have money.
I had to turn.
So you had to think about how were you going to get money to do it.
I had to turn like off the street, like maybe a foot to go get one.
There was a lot of forethought put into it because you didn't have any money.
I see.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So now though, like he's conscious himself, and I think a lot of it was with the help of like knowing he was going to be held accountable, and like if he didn't send a picture, it was like, hey, so you just haven't eaten all day, there was going to be some kind of feedback. But I do think that it has turned into a habit of his own.
Yeah. How was it like for you to go through this program, like just with your mom? Because a lot of kids go with the both parents.
I'd say, even though it was just with my mom, my dad had like a lot of stuff to say too about it. He was always asking about it, and so it wasn't like just my mom; it was like kind of both parents. But I'd say that with my mom like actually doing it with me made it a lot easier, I guess, because I wasn't just like, I don't know, I wasn't just like trying to like do stuff on my own,
Yeah.
Which, like other times, it wasn't like, I mean, I guess when they used to try to help me, it necessarily wasn't like they were doing it with me. I guess it was more like, you need to do this, and I'd be like, well, but like you're eating a donut. And they're like, yeah, I just ran like 20 miles or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but the fact that she did it with me made it a lot better.
And I'm wondering, in the beginning, you decided to want to do this with your mom, I think, as opposed to with. I'm curious, what was that decision? Like, what was behind that decision? Did you not want to do it with your dad?
No, it's that I didn't want to do it with my dad. It's that my dad would have.
He's just too busy.
he's too busy. One, he's like at work, and two, he would have like made it pretty extreme because he's just like that type of person.
I see.
It would not like. I guess my mom sort of like was okay with like gradual changes. My dad, after like the first video, would have been like, all right, like this and this and this just gone, and he'd like make me like film my day and
Okay.
like make sure I wasn't like doing anything. So
I'm sure he tried those kinds of approaches before to help you, right?
yeah, stuff like that, and it was like always this resulted in me in like just like even more rejection. I was just like, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So I guess that's what like kind of painted almost like a negative light on things like that. And so I guess that's probably why I started rejecting more stuff like my mom said and that my dad said. So
Oh, I see. So Jess, I was asking George, like, what was his decision? Like, why did he do this with you, and how did he feel like doing it with you? But I want to hear a bit about you as well. How was it like doing this with George while you were doing it separate from the entire family? How did you feel about that?
Well, our whole family kind of had to do it too. They just didn't get like the benefits of the accountability and stuff because you can't really just do it and not have everybody else participate in really kind of a lot. Like we used to get pizza every weekend. We ordered pizza, and you know, everyone would have like a couple slices, and then we would eat leftover pizza usually like on Sunday after church sometimes if there was any leftover. So that was a big change for them. And then, you know, like after soccer, hey, look, can we go? I want to go to Jersey Mike's, or I want to go here. And they're like, no, we're just going to eat at home.
Yeah.
Which we ate at home, but we were almost never going out. And so from going out at least twice a week to never going out was a change for them. But it was good for me to do it with George. I think it would have been good if Colby could have done it with us as well. But just the meeting times, it was hard enough trying to get me and George to at the same time. So trying to get all three of us to meet was just gonna make it too complicated, especially because there has to be somebody like with the other kids. So
do you think it made any difference that like if we were doing this just me and George, or if you were also involved, do you think there would have been any difference?
I think it was important that I was there too.
Okay.
Because then that's more accountability, you know? And also, if he would have just come out and said, like, would he have had the ability to come out and say, like, we can't go out to eat? And would I have been like, no, we can go out. You just need to choose better options, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it was definitely important that I participated.
So in other words, it's like it had to be a whole family thing, and you were the anchor for the family to help get everyone on board. Is that essentially what it was?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know, George, do you feel like you were like I don't feel like George was telling people that we couldn't do that.
What's when Martin Williams that? Stuff when they paid me to go buy him stuff.
And now, do you feel like this is sustainable? Do you feel like your family will be able to maintain these habits, and George on his own would be able to maintain these habits?
My hope and goal with doing this is the first thing that you have to have is knowledge.
Just make the rest of it.
And I feel like he does have that now. I feel like he's internalized it. Does that mean that we'll always be perfect and like we'll always act on our knowledge? No, but like it's another tool in his tool belt that he didn't have before. And so I hope that it's something that we keep doing and he keeps using. Like because he's 16, I don't have control over him. He's his own agent, and he wakes up, he goes to seminary, then he goes to school, then he goes to tennis, so he doesn't get home till 6 at night, and he leaves at 7 in the morning. So he has his own agency to act as he will. And I hope that he keeps choosing to take care of his health.
So George, let's hear it from you. Do you also think you're going to be able to, or is it a hope?
I think I'm gonna be able to, but there are, at least at my age, it's like a lot of like, I guess, like time with like friends is almost like not like centered around food, but like kind of has to do with it. And so it'll be like, my friends will be like, oh, let's go to this place, let's go to this place. And so what I've been doing, at least, is I've just been like, okay, yeah, I'll come with you guys, but I'm not gonna get anything. And if I do, it'll be like, if we're going to like Chipotle, I'll get something healthy. And so I'd say that that's when I'm gonna be my main areas of focus, is making sure if I am doing like those, like, I guess, food-centered hangouts, that I'm staying away from stuff like that. But other than that, I think it'd be pretty easy for me to keep doing what I've been doing.
I see. So I think there's also this topic that we have to talk about, the ADHD, because I think a lot of parents who come to me have kids with ADHD because it's so directly correlated with excess weight. Did you guys learn anything about that new, or this is like in terms of strategies, or at least George, for you to understand how this was tied to your habits? Did the program help with that?
I think that one of the things that I like, I guess, like, internalized from that was like eating while in front of the screen. Because there were times where I would just like grab something from the fridge and then sit down and like watch a show during my downtime, and be like eating popcorn or like a string cheese or whatever. And that, like you said, like, or chips or whatever, and that like associated eating with TV, I guess. And so every time the TV was on, every time I ate, they would like trigger each other. And so that was one of the main things that I learned to just not do.
I see. And Jess, anything on your mind about this topic?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I can't pinpoint any specific thing. Like, we have done a bit of therapy, and I've done a bit of research, quite a bit of research on ADHD. So, I was pretty well informed about ADHD and the tie to being like excessively eating because of the dopamine hits. But I feel like your personal experience helped a lot, like your stories, and really I feel like the emotional component was probably the most helpful, like why you're doing it, and not that I hadn't learned those things already, but that I feel like George maybe heard them and actually really heard them.
Yeah.
So like, just to pay attention to your emotions and try to be mindful of how you're feeling, and are you really hungry, and are you just bored?
Yeah.
Yeah,
George, did you gain more emotional awareness throughout all of this?
I'd definitely say that awareness, not necessarily, I've always think awareness of how I was feeling, but like definitely like coping strategies and like I guess better expressions was definitely a big thing that I learned. But
is there an example?
Recognizing emotions, I've always been okay with that.
So in terms of coping strategies, is there any example that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've yelled at one of my siblings for like 2 months. And it used to be like daily. I would just like freak out, like, why would you do that? Like, get so mad and stuff.
Okay, that's very interesting. Do you think that was tied to anything you learned, or just happened naturally.
I guess when I was already like feeling better, right? Because I was eating better foods. But also I might have just been like home less too, because I had like tennis and stuff.
Yeah.
But all the times I like did want to get mad, I'd be like, no, like it's not that
Interesting.
worth it. Also, like might like do some mental trauma on my little sibling, so I'm not gonna do it.
Right on. Okay, so starting to wrap up the interview. So I won't ask you if you'd recommend this program, because obviously you wouldn't be doing this video if you didn't, and I respect the viewer's intelligence. So instead, I want to ask you, Jess first maybe, what would you want to see improved? And you can be really honest. I don't want you to hold anything back. What would you improve to recommend this more confidently to someone else?
I honestly, I don't know. I
Okay.
really don't have a lot of feedback because I actually have already like recommended it to my sister-in-law. And it was, and not even just for food reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's actually, they are super clean. But anyway, I just feel like it's one of the only programs that's out there that is for kids. It's really, and I can say that pretty confidently. And I live in a small town, so I guess maybe in big cities people have more access to in-person therapy for these kinds of things. But we don't. The therapy here is pretty bleak. It's bad. And so if you don't live in a huge metropolitan area, I would say it's really, really hard to find programs for kids. It's almost like, oh, well, we don't start working on like healthy outcomes until you're like, it's too late. I'm like, I've been really frustrated by that, but
I'm gonna keep it under the desk.
So I would
Yeah,
say
so
I highly recommend it. And I can't think of anything that wouldn't just be like my own preference because of my own knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I think all of the information that you gave is really important information. I just happen to know quite a bit of it already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I mean, tied to the thing you said before, a lot of the parents who come to me, they're like, yeah, we've gone to doctors and these therapists, and they're like, wait until your kid gets the eating disorder and we can diagnose it, and then we can help them.
yeah,
Before that, we can't do anything.
yeah, it's
And the problem's already there.
Yeah. This is just for you a question. If you could give one message from your heart to another parent who is watching this video on my website currently, and maybe they're on the fence about joining this program, what would you say to them?
Do it. Like, I mean, I guess it would all depend on what the reasons were for, you know, why they were hesitant. If it's like I said before, you feel like, am I making too big of a deal of this? Is this too much of a commitment for this young of a kid? I would say do it.
Don't cheat on pictures either. Not a good idea.
I think it's worth it.
never
I
do
think,
that.
especially if you have no idea how to help them as a parent, I would say 1,000%. You need help. And why wouldn't you get it as early as you can?
And what would you say to the parents who, just like you, like they know pretty much everything, but they somehow still haven't been able to help their kid?
Well, you haven't tried everything. That's what I would say. Like, if you haven't noticed any changes, then you haven't tried everything, and you just have to keep trying everything. So why not try this?
I see.
Wait,
Okay, so that was
get on the website and watch myself in this video.
yeah, it'll be up soon.
I want to see that.
You'll also see a couple other families that I'm doing this with. So that's it. I think that was really great, and thank you for being authentic and vulnerable. I know this was difficult to share, and probably, I don't know if it's the only time, like the first time you've been online, so it's uncomfortable. And whoever's watching, I hope this video truly helped you better understand how the program works and seeing the real experience of families who have done it. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Hey, thanks.